Hello, happy Sunday. Happy day for playing Magic. I'm CounterTop Commander. I play Magic the Gathering. I play physical cards pretty much entirely. I don't do any of the online stuff like Arena or Magic Online or stuff like that. I just play. I just play what you see here. So I've been kind of shuffling up these three different decks. And we're going to get to them here in a second. Let me explain kind of what I do. On Sundays, like today, what I do is I do a stream specifically playing beginner decks. So these are very base level styles of decks that I use to teach how to play Magic, and that's what we're going to do on Sundays. And then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I generally aim for a stream with just any deck that I want to, and it's going to be a lot more free form. I'm not necessarily going to explain every single move that I make, which is what I'll do here with these beginner decks, is just kind of go through the motions, show how the decision making process works, how Magic cards work just in general, the sort of turn order and strategy and stuff like that. And we'll kind of take it from there. So, like I said, these are three beginner decks. There's a soldier deck, which is the one right in front of us. Then there are two other decks. One is all about dragons, and the other one is all about angels. And so those are known as tribal decks. They focus specifically on one creature type. And in this case, all of the beginner decks that I use are single colored decks. So this one in particular is a white card. The dragons are red and the angels are white. You can kind of see on the back of this Magic card, there's 5 different colors here: white, blue, black, red, and green. So I have 2 of each of the single colors, and both of the white ones are present today. And not only that, but these particular decks, their primary strategy is what's known as aggro. And that just means that we're going to try to take down our opponent's life totals, bring our opponent's life totals down to 0 by primarily through attacking them. So let me go ahead and bring this up. You can see here we're going to start at 40 life, which is how the Commander format works. Everybody starts at 40 life. And we're going to try to bring that down to 0. Then after that, so that's one of the 3 kind of primary strategies in Magic is aggro, the other 2 being control and combo. And there's definitely a combination of those. I mean, you can have a control combo deck and an aggro control deck and stuff like that. Each of these decks will also kind of have a sub-theme, more or less. Most of them do anyway. The soldier deck that's right... Well, we'll talk about the other ones as we get to it. But the soldier deck right here, its sort of sub-theme that I play off of when I built this deck is abilities. And that's because our commander, which is this card right here, he sets separate from the deck. And when we talk about commander, each Magic has a bunch of different formats. And it's essentially there are a base set of rules of how the game works. But within that base, or in addition to that sort of base rule set, there you can devise new rules that everybody tries to play to. And in this case, Commander has its own set of established rules. One of them being that our decks are exactly 100 cards. So normally in sort of the regular rules of Magic, 60 cards is the minimum amount of cards that you can have in a deck. So you can't have less than 60, but you can have any more than 60 that you want. And also you can have 4 of any type of card in your deck. Commander has an additional rule where we can only have 1 of any type of non-land card. Actually, any type of non-basic non-land card. So we can only have 1 of each of the different types of special lands, so to speak. In this case, Audric focuses primarily on utilizing different abilities. And let's go and just kind of through the card itself. But before I do that, let me go and bring this Audric card up on the screen so you can see it. let's do this right here. So there you go. And you can see his name, Audric Lunarch Marshall. And in the other corner on the top is a number 3 and what looks like some kind of white symbol. So that is the mana cost of a card. So in this case, the 3 just represents that you have to pay that 3 mana with any color of mana. So normally, like this, the white symbol right there, that means that we have to use white mana to be able to pay that part of the cost. And then with the other 3, we can use any color of mana, including colorless mana, to be able to cast it. Now, that's not really going to come up too much because, like I said, since all of these decks are single colored, they're generally not going to produce any color of mana except for the color that the deck is. So in this case, most of our lands are going to, create white, or most of the cards that we have will create white mana. As we go down the card from the card art, the next thing that we see is legendary creature - human soldier. So that's the creature type line, or the card type line, and it just tells us what kind of card it is. So there's a number of different types of cards in Magic: creatures, artifacts, enchantments, lands, planeswalkers, instant sorceries, and tribal are the different card types. There might be, there's more card types than that, but that's most of the card types. So in this case, Audric is a legendary creature, and he is specifically a human soldier. That's sort of the type and the class of the card, if you want to go that way, sort of a D&D type explanation there. And what was it? Each of the different card types will do different things, and I think as we come to them, we will discuss them more in detail. In this case, creatures, we will cast them and then use them to try to attack other players. So if we continue down further, the next part of the card is this rules text box. And the rules text says, at the beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn if you have a creature with first strike. The same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. So basically, all that gobbledygook means is that if any of our creatures have an ability, basically every combat, all of our creatures will gain that ability. So sort of, in a sense, this soldier deck is going to move as a unit, as a full unit, and each part of the unit will contribute to the group, essentially by offering up their abilities so that everybody can use that ability. So we'll get into what each of those abilities mean when they become relevant, but for now, suffice it to say that our army will get stronger as we get more units in that army. And finally, on the very bottom right, there is a 3/3. What that is it's the power and toughness of the card. So the first number is the power. That's how much damage Audric can deal in a turn. And then the second number is the toughness, which is how much damage Audric can take in a turn. So let's go ahead and get started on a turn. Go and put this up here. We don't have him out quite yet. So let's go ahead and, well, first of all, when you start a game of Magic, everybody starts with 7 cards in their hand. So you shuffle up your deck, you draw 7 cards, and this is our 7 cards in our hand. So we are looking at somewhat of an interesting hand in the sense that we don't have a ton of things to play quite yet, but we will very, very soon be able to play most of the cards, and that's because this is our mana sources right here. We have 2 different lands. Each of them will tap for a single white mana, and we can see the symbol, right, let's see, focus. The symbol there at the bottom in the middle, that's the white mana symbol. That just means that's helping the player indicate to the player that these lands specifically tap for white mana. And then in addition to that, we have this cool thing called a soul ring. It's a 1 cost card that taps and adds 2 colorless mana to our mana pool. So this card will be able to help us pay for the cost of Audric's colorless stuff. It won't help us with the white mana that we'll need, but we do have 2 white mana here to be able to play it. So on our second turn, we will be able to have 4 mana, which is really, really good for us. That's, like you can, so in Magic, you can only play 1 land a turn. So if we can get to 4 mana on our second turn, then we have double, we're basically 2 turns ahead of where we would be without Soul Ring. Then looking at the rest of the hand, we have 1 4-cost card, and then we have 3 cards that are generally pretty expensive. 2 of them are 6 cost, and 1 of them we probably won't cast until we have 7 mana. So this hand is kind of slow, but with this mana-based start in our hand, as long as we draw 2 more lands, we're going to be really far ahead. So that's a really good sign for us. Now, starting the turn, all turns start with the untap step, which would be essentially tapping a card is just the way that a player indicates that the energy, the amount of energy that a card has been exhausted until the next turn. So lands tap for mana, and that all that means is that that land has exhausted its ability to produce mana until your next turn. So all turns start with untapping everything that you have. Then after that is an upkeep step, which is kind of just a cleanup step, and we won't worry about that right now, just because we probably won't see too much of it for a little bit, but that is another part of the turn that's sort of allowing things to happen at the beginning of the turn, because basically the untap step, nothing can happen during the untap step. It's basically sealed off so that nobody can mess around with an untap step. You have to do everything in the upkeep right after the untap. So putting that aside, after that you draw a card for the turn, then you go into your main phase, which is the part of the turn where you can play lands and cast spells like creature spells and stuff like that. After that, then there's combat, another main phase, and then you can end your turn. Okay, so let's go ahead. We don't have anything to untap. We don't have anything during our upkeep because it's the first turn. So on our first turn, since we're playing against more than one opponent, we get to draw a card on our first turn, and that is Finale of Glory. Oh, another big costing spell. Okay, well, that's okay. We will be able to take advantage of this later on. So let's just go and hold it into our hand. After we draw the card for the turn, we'll go into our main phase. So we will start by playing a Plains card, a Plains land, I should say. We will add 1 mana, use it, tapping it. See, that's the tapping motion representing that it's been used up. So we will tap and add 1 white mana to our mana pool and use that white mana to cast Soul Ring because it only costs 1 colorless. And then we are going to end the turn because we don't have anything else that we can do for this turn. So we will pass to the next deck, which is the Dragons. The Dragon deck is a red deck. So white is sort of the color of order and balance, in a sense. I guess also community. Red is the color of sort of passion and chaos. So, the color of passion and chaos. The dragon deck, it does, well, let's say again. The soldier deck is a small tribe, meaning it uses a bunch of small creatures to try to do a lot of things. We didn't really talk about it, but we had multiple cards in our hand that will create a bunch of 1/1 creatures. This deck is a big tribe, is what I call it. And that's because we have fewer creatures than the small tribes do, but our creatures are bigger and they take longer to get out. So essentially the balance here is meant to be that the small tribes go fast with a lot of small things. The big tribes go slow, but they have a lot of really big things that can deal as much damage as a bunch of small things. So in particular, our commander is Lathless Dragon Queen. She is a 6 cost. She's 4 colorless, 2 red, 6/6 dragon, and she has flying, which means that when a creature has flying, they can attack without being blocked if the opponent only has creatures without flying. So flyers can only block flyers, and then flyers can actually block other flyers and creatures without flying. So that's going to be really advantageous to us because we will be able to fly over little tiny armies that the soldiers might have. In addition to that, in addition to flying, Lathless also has whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. And then even further on top of that, we can pay 1 colorless and 1 red to have dragons we control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So Lathless is a big dragon, and whenever we play other dragons, we get more big dragons. And then Lathless can also help make all of our dragons stronger. So we're going to make a bunch of dragons, and then sort of the sub-theme underneath it is sort of direct damage. We will be able to deal damage to our opponents directly without having to necessarily attack, although a lot of times we will be attacking. So taking a look at our hand, we have a somewhat similar hand. We do have the ability to create 4 mana here, which is really strong. We need to be able to get to 6 to be able to cast Lathless. And then on top of that, we have, this card is going to be basically useless in this game, unfortunately, because this one specifically talks about doing stuff to blue cards. So that's not going to be too much use to us. But we do have this card called Reverberate. So the dragon deck does not have a lot of instants and sorceries. So this card allows us to copy somebody else's instant or sorcery. So if somebody, say, tried to use a spell to try to kill one of our creatures, we could make a copy of it and kill one of their creatures back. So that should be really useful. And then finally we have this enchantment, which is 6 cost, that has what's called Sunbird's Invocation. And basically whenever we cast something that costs a lot of mana, we will get a free spell out of that. So most likely we will try to aim for the Sunbird's Invocation and then start playing dragons out of our hand. So our turn order again is untap, upkeep, then draw. So we don't have anything to untap, and we don't have anything on our upkeep, so we will draw a card for the turn. And look at there, that is another land, so we are 1 mana away from being able to do stuff. And this is also, let's go and point this out, this is what's known as a non-basic land, because this is a mountain, and it specifically says basic land on it. It does not have a indicator saying that it is a basic land, so we can only have 1 of these in our deck. And in particular, this one won't be too relevant to this matchup that we're doing, because again, it's specifically trying to help with countering blue cards, because blue can be really troublesome if you're not careful. So let's see, our turn, we will go ahead and play a mountain, and then we will pass the turn over to our final deck for the day, which is Angels. And the Angels over here, their sub-theme, first of all, they are another big tribe, so they're going to be playing mostly big angel creatures and attacking with them. Well, our sub-theme, though, is life gain. So we are going to actually be trying to gain life and doing things with that life in different ways. In particular, one aspect that we can do, or we might be able to do, is whenever we gain life, we can make something stronger, or maybe we gain life and create some more angels, or gain life and draw cards. So all of these are important things that we want to do, and our deck kind of tries to focus on that. So, and let's go ahead and talk about Regna the Redeemer, which is our commander. Regna is a 6 cost 4/4 flying angel. 5 colorless and 1 white. And then she has, at the beginning of each instep, if your team gained life this turn, create 2 1/1 white warrior creature tokens. So that is every single player's turn. That's not just our turn if something happens to gain us life. We actually, if we gained life on every other player's turn, we would be able to create, technically speaking, 6 tokens in one turn cycle. So that's going to be really strong if we can be able to do that. Now, taking a look at our hand, we are a little bit slower than the other decks. We're only starting out with 3 mana, so that's less than what we were seeing with everybody else. But I decided to go ahead and take this hand, namely because we have 2 kind of important cards here. We have Divine Offering, which has destroy target artifact. You gain life equal to its converted mana cost. So, seeing as there's a Soul Ring on the other side, we may be able to destroy the Soul Ring before the Soldier deck gets too far ahead. And then the other one is Spirit Loop, which is a enchantment, particularly an enchantment aura. So some enchantments just come into play, like regular enchantments come into play, and they just sit there and they have some kind of effect. Spirit Loop is a little bit different. You enchant a creature with it, and that, as long as that creature exists, the enchantment exists, and it does something to that creature. In this case, it's going to have enchant creature you control. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage, we gain that much life. And then, if Spirit Loop is ever put into the graveyard from play, we return it to our hand. So that's really important. It's going to be difficult to get rid of if somebody is trying to kill our creatures, which means that we have a source of life gain all the time now. And then on the heavier end, we have a really big angel. We have a 7 cost 4/4 angel. And then we have another card that will make little tokens if we need to, but its primary use is going to be trying to destroy the battlefield. And that's how big decks, especially slow decks, survive, is by sort of stabilizing the battlefield by destroying all the creatures. So hopefully at some point we will get around to doing that. But for now, let's go ahead, and we don't have any untap. We don't have anything during our upkeep. We will draw a card, and look at there. Boon Reflections. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. So that's going to be amazing later on once we can get some creatures out. So for now, we will go ahead and play a Plains, and then we will pass the turn. And now we have completed 1 round of turns, so we're going all the way back over to the Soldier deck, and they will be able to have another turn now. So let's go ahead and untap, upkeep, draw a card, and Austere Command. So another good one, but we do want to see some more land if we can help it. So for now, let's go and play a Plains. And then I think that, let's see, what do we want to do here? We have 2 cards that we could play. We have a Soldier in our hand. Let's see, controls. I think maybe let's go ahead and cast our commander. So this is 6 mana. We will cast Audric, Lunarch Marshal, and we will pass the turn. That's all we're going to do this turn. So continuing around, we are getting over to Lathless, the dragon deck. We will untap, upkeep, draw a card. We have Kargan Dragonlord. That's actually really interesting, because this is a card that I think means we have a pretty good opportunity to play it now. There's not too many creatures out. There's not too much else going on, so we'll play a mountain, and then we will play Kargan Dragonlord. It is a 2/2 human warrior for 2 mana, 2 red mana. And it has this really cool ability called Level Up. So we can pay a red mana at any time during our turn to activate the ability, and it levels up the creature. And once our Kargan Dragonlord gets to level 4, it will become a 4/4 creature with flying. And then if we get up to level 8 on it, it will become a an 8/8 flying trample creature with the ability to pay mana to make itself stronger. So that's going to be really interesting here shortly if we don't have anything else to do, and kind of as we're waiting to get enough mana to cast other spells, we can use mana to pump Kargan Dragonlord up. So for now, we will pass the turn over to the Angel deck and see what the Angels can do in response. So untap, upkeep, draw a card. We have Moon Silver Spear. So this is an equipment. It's an artifact equipment, and this kind of acts like a enchantment, except it's a it's a physical object that a creature that you control can kind of pick up, equip themselves with, and then that equipment will imbue them with additional abilities. For now, though, it costs a little bit more than we can pay, so I think we're going to have to wait and just play a Plains and then pass the turn. So we're really hoping to see some more mana in our upcoming turns, but who knows, maybe we'll get unlucky. So moving back around to the soldier deck. The soldiers are going to untap all of our stuff. Upkeep, we don't have anything during our upkeep. So then we will draw a card for the turn, and it is a Plains. So now here's a pretty good question. We could play this Plains right now, or we could hold off and not play it. And I think that maybe we hold off and not play it. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to play Keeper of the Accord. And the reason that we're doing this is because Keeper of the Accord is a 4-cost human soldier. That's a 3/4. And it has, at the beginning of each opponent's end step, do a thing. And it has 2 different things that it can do. So if that opponent has more creatures than we do, then we get to create a free 1/1 soldier creature. And it'll just be, we'll go, oh, okay, well, here you go. We created a soldier. That's what it'll look like. It says soldier ally, but it's meant to be soldier. Well, actually, I guess maybe we can, I wonder if we do have, yeah, here we go. So we have regular soldiers there. So we'll have that. And then if an opponent has more lands than we do, then we can search our library for a basic Plains and put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle our library. So essentially, by not playing a Plains right now, we can get a free Plains card from our deck. And it won't necessarily mean much right now, but it could mean something, a lot of something in the future, especially because we don't know that we'll draw Plains next turn. So the idea here is that if we let the other players go, then one of them is bound to play another land card on their turn, and we will get a free land because of that. So let's go ahead and this could be a good opportunity. The dragon deck already has a creature out, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and declare Audric, Lunarch Marshal, as an attacker against the dragon deck. Against the dragon player, I guess I could say. So what's going to happen with this is that we tapped Audric to represent that he is using all of his energy this turn to attack somebody. And the dragons do have a creature that they could block with. Remember, we played the Kargan Dragonlord. Let's go and rotate a little bit around, and you can see it up here on the side. We do have a creature that can be used to block, but we don't really want to lose that creature right now. So we're going to choose not to block, and instead we're just going to take the 3 damage from Audric. So let's go ahead and bring up that life total. And so soldiers are attacking the dragons, so the dragons are going to lose 3 life, And they're also going to take 3 commander damage. So here's an interesting thing, an additional rule about commander. When it comes to commander cards dealing damage to other players, or to any player really, combat damage specifically, if that commander, say if we kept attacking with Audric and ended up dealing 21 points of damage to the dragon deck, the dragon deck would actually lose the game. And that can happen with anyone. So if the dragon deck had their commander stolen and used against them, then that would also count. Your own commander can end the game for you, or end your game by dealing you enough damage. So it may not be too relevant with Audric, but it could be, especially with the dragons. The dragons can deal a lot of damage. It could end up coming up later. So let's go ahead and just keep going around. We'll go back to the dragons. They will untap for the turn, draw a card, and it is Semblance Anvil. Okay. Well, this is a card that can reduce the costs of things, but we would have used it to reduce the cost of Lathless. Unfortunately, we played the creature that we have right here that can be used in conjunction with Semblance Anvil. So we'll just have to hold Semblance Anvil in our hand for now. Instead, we will play a mountain, our third mountain, add 3 mana to our mana pool, cast Commander Sphere, and then we will tap. This Commander Sphere is a 3-cost artifact. It can add 1 mana to our mana pool of any color in our commander's color identity. So in this case, it'll add red. And then we can also sacrifice the sphere to draw a card. So we are going to tap to add 1 red mana to our mana pool, and we will use that to level Kargan Dragonlord up 1 level. So now it could be getting up really high next turn. We will have at least 4 mana to use here, and we will be able to have a 4/4 flyer. So that's pretty good news. And for now, we could attack, but really the only viable attack that we have is against the Angel deck, and the Angel deck hasn't really done anything to us yet, so we're going to go and hold off. There's not too much point this early to start attacking people. Oh, and like I said, we played another land, so before we go to the Angel deck, our Soldier deck actually has another ability here. A trigger that happens. So, like I said, at the beginning of the end step, if that opponent controls more lands than we do, then we get to search our library for a basic Plains card and put it into play tapped. So we are getting a Plains from the deck and putting it into play tapped. And I think because of that, well, that is kind of problematic. We do have the ability to destroy their Soul Ring, but I don't know if it's necessary right now. They have 5 mana, so they are ahead, but the soldiers didn't attack us as the Angel deck, and the Angel deck has the ability right now to destroy the Soul Ring and bring their mana back down. But at the same time, by the same measure, the Dragon deck could also be doing something really nasty with an artifact later on or very soon. So we don't want to necessarily waste it on a Soul Ring right now. I think we're going to wait with the Angel deck and not target the Soul Ring. It was just an option of something that we could do. So let's go back to the Angels, who are at a very low amount of mana, unfortunately. I'm really hoping that we get to see some more lands here soon. No untap, nothing during our upkeep. We draw a card. There you go. There's a land that helps us. That doesn't get us out of the water yet. We're still kind of underwater, but it does mean that we can play other spells from our hand once we get a little bit more mana. So we will play a Plains, and then we will pass the turn. So we will go back to the Soldier deck and see what we can do. Okay. So the soldiers are going to untap, upkeep, draw a card. It is another Plains. So we did end up with a Plains this turn, but we didn't know that we were going to. Let's go and play a plains. We don't want to hold off too much because we do have other cards. We have cards in our hand that we can play. So let's go ahead and tap 6, and we will cast a card called Martyr's Bond. Martyr's Bond has, whenever it or another non-land permanent we control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a permanent that shares a card type with it. So if we lose any of our creatures, then everybody else will also have to lose a creature. That's going to become very vital when we have a bunch of little creatures running about and they end up getting blocked by a big creature. We can essentially make them sacrifice that big creature. So, looking back at our hand, or what will we have out? We could have played another card here. So we do have Elspeth's Son's Champion right here. But the fact of the matter is that we know that the Kargan Dragonlord will turn into a 4/4 flyer next turn, and they'll almost certainly attack Elspeth because this is a Planeswalker. So we're going to hold it in our hand now, and then next turn we will probably use its ability and kill off the Kargan Dragonlord. So for now, while the Kargan Dragonlord is still a 2/2, we are going to declare both of our creatures as attackers. One of them will go after the Kargan Dragonlord, after the dragon player, and that will be Audric. And then Keeper of the Accord will try to deal 3 damage against the Angels. So I think same as last turn, the Angels have to take the damage. They don't have any choice. They don't have anything to block with. I think the Dragons are going to hinge on holding on to their little Kargan Dragonlord, and they will take the damage. So that's our life totals right now. And let's just keep going to the next turn and see what happens. So we will untap both of these, draw a card for the turn, and it is Dragon Master Outcast. Wow. Okay, so we are really close to having that guy's ability actually doing something, but for now we will play the Cavern of Souls, and when it comes into play we have to choose a creature type, so we'll choose Dragon. And essentially it will be able to tap for colored mana if it deals with a dragon card. Unfortunately, we can't use it to power up Kargan Dragonlord, but that's okay. We are going to just add 4 mana to our mana pool and bring Kargan Dragonlord up to level 5, which isn't enough to be able to get us into the 8/8 range, but we can do it next turn if we need to. So from now we will swing for 4 damage against the soldier deck, and the soldiers will be down to 36. So we're attacking the soldiers now instead of holding Kargan Dragonlord back so that we could block Audric. I think for now we want to start getting damage in because it means that we should be able to pretty quickly deal enough damage to cause them to lose. Because Kargan Dragonlord, basically, we will be able to pay 3 mana and make it 8/8, and then also pay another mana to pump up its power by 1 and make it into a 9/9 or a 9/8 creature next turn. So I think that since we don't know what the soldiers' plans are, I think trying to get as much damage as we can in is probably smarter than holding off this time. So we will pass the turn. Basically, we're not in threat of our life total going down low enough or getting enough commander damage to lose, so we don't really need to block right now. Moving on to the Angels. The Angels are going to untap, upkeep, draw a card. Another Plains. This is great. This is what we like to see. I mean, seeing a low-cost card would be nice, but for now, we're going to just play a Plains, and then we will play Moonsilver Spear just to get that equipment out of our hand, and we will be able to equip it to something once we have a creature to equip it to. So we will, after that, pass the turn back to the soldiers. The soldiers didn't get any triggers with their Keeper of the Accord because it has the most lands out, or is tied for the most lands right now. So, looking at the Soldiers deck, we will untap, upkeep, draw a card. Let's see, draw a card. It's another Plains. We'll go ahead and play it. There's no point not to. So we'll play that Plains. We will tap 6 mana, and we will cast this Planeswalker, which is Elspeth, Sun's Champion. So Planeswalkers, the way they operate is they start with a number of loyalty counters that's on the card. In this case, 4. She will start with 4 loyalty counters. And then she has 3 different abilities. And most Planeswalkers will have somewhere between 1 and 4 abilities. I think. I don't think there's a Planeswalker that has 0 abilities. I don't think there would be any point in doing that. So, in this case, she has a +1 ability that puts 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. Then she has -3, destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater, and then -7. You get an emblem with creatures you control, get +2/+2, and have flying. So what those plus and minus mean is that you're essentially dealing in loyalty counters. So what we're going to do is we're going to -3 loyalty counters and destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. In this case, the only one that's out is Kargan Dragonlord. So Kargan Dragonlord is going to die. And now we have a board free of creatures again. We stand unopposed. And so now Elspeth is essentially safe because the thing about Planeswalkers is that you can attack them just like you would try to attack a player. So if another player had a Planeswalker, we could say, okay, our Keeper of the Accord is going to attack that Planeswalker. The player who controls that Planeswalker can decide to use creatures to block, or they can decide to let you deal damage. So since there's no other creatures out, Elspeth is not in fear of being attacked anytime soon. So we are going to go ahead and declare both of our creatures, since we're not afraid or needing to block Elspeth. We are going to do the same attack we did last time, which means that the dragons are going to take another 3 damage, be down to 31, and 9 commander damage even. Wow, that's crazy. Let's see, and then the angels are going to also take 3 damage and be down to 34. So after that, we will pass the turn. We don't have anything else that we want to do. And the dragons are going to hope that they draw another land so that they can start playing some big cards. So let's untap, upkeep, draw a card, and it is not a land and not mana. So that's kind of unfortunate. Let's see. I think that means that what we're going to do, I think we're going to pay 3 mana here to cast Semblance Anvil, and we're going to exile this Dragon Master Outcast from our hand. And so what Semblance Anvil does is a 3-cost artifact, and it has an ability Imprint. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile a non-land card from your hand. So we did. And then any spells that we cast that share card type with the exiled card costs 2 less to cast. So next turn, we will be able to cast Lathless regardless of whether or not we draw into another land. So that's good news for us. I didn't necessarily want to waste the Dragon Master Outcast, but it's going to be better served being able to get our Lathless out this turn. So unfortunately, we can do one more thing. Let's go and do that. We will pay 2 mana, and we will play this other artifact that we have in our hand, Lightning Greaves, and it's an equipment, so it's like another item that we just have around that we can choose to equip to a creature, and that creature will get 2 new abilities that we will talk about when we get a creature on with it equipped. So for now, we will just pass to the angels. We're going to untap, upkeep, draw a card, and it is another Plains. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. So we will play that card. We will go ahead and pay, once we can grab all the land, we will pay 5 mana to cast this card, Boon Reflection, which is an enchantment, 5 cost, 4 colorless, 1 white. If we would gain life, we gain twice that much life instead. So next turn we will be able to play Regna, I should say. And the turn after that, we will be able to enchant her with Spirit Loop and equip her with the Moon Silver Spear, and we will do crazy things with it. So for now, we will pass the turn back over to the soldiers and see what they are going to do. Sorry, drinking some tea. Gotta keep my voice clear so I can keep talking. Okay. Soldiers are going to go. We would really like to see not a land card this turn. We are untapping, draw a card for the turn, and it is thankfully not a land, but it's not quite the card that we wanted to see either, so it's just another card that creates more soldiers. And in fact, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use Elspeth Sun's Champion first ability to create 3 white soldiers. 1/1 white soldiers. Here's our soldiers right there. So now we have defenders no matter what we attack with. So let's see. Do we have anything else that we want to do? Let's see, this is 6 mana here, so we're still a little shy on some of our other cards. I think we will go ahead and make our attacks for the turn. So we will attack with these 2 creatures. And we will do the same attacks again, just like we did last time. So dragons are going to take another 3 and be down to 28 with 12 commander damage. So we're actually creeping up there very slowly, but we are creeping up on the commander damage. And the angels would be down to 31 life. So after that, we don't have anything else we want to do. We're just going to go ahead and pass the turn. So dragon deck, untap, upkeep, draw a card. It is not a land, but that's okay. We didn't need a land at this point because we have a reduced cost on our dragons. So we will pay 4 mana. So normally Lathless is a 6 cost card, but our Symbol and Sample reduces that cost by 2. So Lathless only costs 4 mana now, and we are able to get it out. Now, I said that we played that equipment last turn. I'd explain what it does now. The equipment is free to equip to a creature. The equip cost is 0. It's not always 0. With the Angel card, the equip cost is 4 colorless mana. And in this case, the equipped creature has haste and shroud. So haste, normally when a creature comes into play, and you saw we had 3 little soldiers out there, we could have attacked with them if they had haste. But when a creature first comes out, normally it has a thing called Summoning Sickness. It can't attack on the turn that it came out. And with haste, you can ignore the Summoning Sickness. So our commander right here, our Lathless commander, can now attack without having to wait at all. So that's kind of huge, honestly. And in addition to that, the Shroud ability, what that does is it means that Lathless can now not be targeted. So if one of the other decks had a spell that said, say, destroy target creature, they could not choose Lathless. They would have to choose a different creature. So the equipment is really good. It allows us to attack immediately, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to declare an attacker against the Elspeth. So we are going to attack the Elspeth Planeswalker and deal it 6 damage. And it only had 2 loyalty, so now the Elspeth is going to die. And we did that because Elspeth could be used to destroy our dragon, and we don't really want that to happen. So we're going to go ahead and do it now and get it out of the way, so that we did a number of turns ago, we did the Elspeth ability -3 to destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. In this case, because that ability doesn't say the word target, then it will still affect Lathlis, even though it has Shroud. It's a little bit tricky, but once you kind of see it in action, like right here, it starts to make sense. It's just whether or not you see the word target being used, and that's all you have to look for. Now, continuing around, we get back to the Angel deck, and like I said, we're going to untap, upkeep, draw a card. It is another land. That's great. That's great news. So actually, we are going to play this other land, this Haunted Fengraf non-basic land. We will tap all of our land for 6 mana, and we will cast our Regna, the Redeemer, our commander. Now, we don't have anything else that we can do this turn because we're out of mana, but next turn we will be able to attack and do some nasty stuff. So we are back around to the soldier deck. So the soldiers are going to untap, upkeep, draw a card, and we have another plains, so we really want to draw some... we really want to draw mana here soon. I mean, not mana. We want to get something that's not a land card here soon. So we will go and play that land, which does mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, if we drew one more land, then there could be something that comes up. But I think that... I think what we're going to do is we're going to be a little tricksy here. I think it matters a lot to go ahead and do this now. We're going to pay 2 mana, and we're going to enchant a creature. Oh, enchant a creature you control. Never mind. We're not gonna do that then. That's unfortunate. Let's see. We could play Martial Coup. I think we're going to hold off. Well, I don't know. It does make some amount of sense to go and do this now. Let's go ahead and do it. We will play Austere Command. We just won't be able to do the thing that I just thought about doing. We're going to pay 6 mana to cast it. It is a sorcery. That means essentially sorceries and instants have one single effect. You pay a cost, they have an effect, and then they go into your graveyard. They don't stay out. They don't continuously do things. And the only difference being that sorceries are slow. They can only be cast on your turn, during certain phases of your turn, specifically the main phase 1 and main phase 2. Instants can be cast at any time you have the opportunity to cast, and it's kind of complicated to explain, so we're not going to go too deep into it right here. We're just going to suffice it to say you can cast it whenever you want. So Austere Command has choose 2. We can destroy all artifacts, destroy all enchantments, or destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less, or destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 4 or greater. So I think what we're going to do is everybody else is moving very slowly. We have a ton of land. So if we destroy our creature, well, I guess that means let's hang off for a second. We're going to attack first because everybody else, yeah, we want to attack first. We're going to do that in our second main. So these guys, these 2 are going to attack the dragon player. These 3 soldiers are going to attack the angels. So the dragons don't have anything that they can block with, and that's because their creatures are tapped. If we rotate a little bit around here to kind of show, we attacked with our dragon creature right here. So that creature, he's he's tapped out. He's used all his energy until the dragon player gets to go again. So that dragon can't block. So that means that these 2 creatures that we attacked with are going to deal the full amount of damage to the dragon deck. So let's go and pull that up. That's 6 damage total, bringing them down to 22, and we get 3 more commander damage right there. The angel deck does have a blocker. They have their Regna, the Redeemer. So, let's see. So they're going to block one of those soldiers. We're going to say this soldier dies. And then the other 2 go through and deal 2 damage. So the angels are going to take 2 damage. So actually, we do want to... I'm also keeping track of how many times commanders are cast, so I should do that. Okay, so there we go. That's what we're looking at right now. And I think that's when, after we get done with combat, we get to have a second main phase. And during our second main phase, here's where we're going to be doing stuff. So I think that in this case, because we're going to lose our creatures, we're going to pay 2 mana and enchant one of our creatures with, specifically Keeper of the Accord. We're going to enchant it with this thing called Murder Investigation. And then we're going to pay 6 more mana, like this, and cast Austere Command. So we're going to choose as the modes, we're going to destroy all artifacts, and then we're going to also destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 4 or greater. So that means that, unfortunately, our Audric dies. So does our Soul Ring, and then also our Keeper of the Accord. And we want to remember that we had an effect with this Murder Investigation. But then if we go around, so we destroyed 3 of our things. But if we look over here, the dragon deck is going to lose all 3 of these artifacts and their commander. So the dragons are going to sacrifice this commander sphere in response to draw a card, and it was a mountain, so that's good. But then this guy goes away, and this card remains removed from the game forever. Those artifacts die, and they lose Lathliss. So now, like I said, we had to pay 6 mana to be able to get out Lathliss one time. Well, now it's going to cost 8 mana, and we're 4 mana shy of being able to do that. So we're really far behind now. Over here, Regna is also going to get destroyed, and so is this Moonsilver Spear. So we lost some stuff. The angels lost some stuff too, and again, Regna costs 6 mana normally, but because it got killed, to recast it, we would have to pay 8 mana. So it actually may make more sense. Let's see. I think it's possible that we're going to be tricksy here and let Regna die, actually. That's what we're going to do. So we're just going to kind of show our hand a little bit, and we're going to show it by kind of indicating that we might have some way to bring that card back from our graveyard. So let's finish resolving this stuff. Because Keeper of the Accord died, our Murder Investigation gets a trigger, and that trigger is whenever the enchanted creature dies, put X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens into play, where X is the number that creature's power. So we are going to get 3 fresh more soldiers out, and that's kind of why we did that, is so that we still have 5 power worth of creatures out, so we can still deal a decent amount of damage even though we lost the 2 creatures that we did. So after that, we will pass the turn, and it will be the dragon's turn once again. Untap, upkeep, draw a card, and it is Palladian Mirror. So it is a creature that taps for mana. So we are absolutely going to play that. We will pay 3 mana, cast Palladian Mirror, and now we actually do have enough mana, or we will be very close to having enough mana to casting Lathless once again. So we will pass the turn from there. Moving on to the Angels. The Angels are going to untap, upkeep, draw a card, and it is a Plains, which is really, really good for us, because what we're going to do is we're going to play a Plains, and we are not going, surprisingly, we are not going to do anything else this turn. We could play an Angel that we have in our hand, but instead we're going to wait so that we can use it to get back Regna without anybody being able to disrupt us. Because it is possible that if we played our Angel from our hand right now, it could be killed before we could use it to bring back Regna. So we're just going to hold off on that for now. And we are passing back to the soldiers. We're not too hyper concerned about it, particularly, so it's okay if we just go ahead and keep moving here. So untap all of our soldiers and our land, draw a card for the turn. It is Intangible Virtue. Wow, that's so good. It's so good. So we're going to pay 2 mana, and we're going to cast Intangible Virtue. So creature tokens we control get +1/+1 and have vigilance. So that means that all of these creatures were 1/1s. Now they're 2/2s. And the ability Vigilance, all it means is that whenever these creatures attack, they don't use their energy up for the turn. So they can attack and defend as well. So we're going to go ahead and attack with all 5 of them. And let's go ahead and take a look at the life totals. So Palladium Mirror can't block. We are looking over at the Angels, thinking the Angels may be up to something. So we're just going to try to deal all 10 damage over at the Angels and hopefully get them low before they get a bunch of life gain out. So I think that makes the most sense for us, and we will pass after that with not much else that we want to do this turn. So the Dragons are going to go. They're going to untap, upkeep, draw a card, and it is a mountain. That's perfect. So now we actually do have enough to recast Lathless. But before we do that, we're going to do something sneaky. We'll pay 6 mana here and play Sunbird's Invocation. So actually, let's change it up a little bit. We're going to use Palladium Mirror. It taps for 2 colorless mana, and instead we're going to have 2 red mana holding up here, just in case we can use the reverb. We have this Reverberate in our hand to copy a target instant or sorcery, so we're hoping that we can maybe see if the soldiers or the Angels have some kind of instant or sorcery they're going to play. For now, though, we will pass to the Angel deck. The Angels are going to draw a card, and it is Herald of War. That's pretty nice. It's a little late, but that's okay. So we are going to pay 7 mana to cast Emeria Shepherd. Emeria Shepherd is a 7-cost 4/4 flyer, 5 colorless, 2 white. So that's how we paid it with this. And it has Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return target non-land permanent from your graveyard to your hand. If that land is a Plains, we may return it to the battlefield instead. So we're going to play 1 Plains, so we get to return some kind of non-land permanent from our graveyard, and because it's a Plains, it goes into the battlefield directly instead of our hand. So we got our Regna back already, and if we draw another Plains, then we will get the Moon Silver Spear as well. Super, super good there. After that, the Angels will pass. Now they can block multiple of the tokens that are down here. So, spinning around, we have these tokens, untap, upkeep, draw a card, and let's see, Mass Calcify. Well, I don't think it's useful quite yet, but this card could come in key later. So let me think about this. What do we want to do? I think we don't want to play anything yet. I think we just want to attack. So here's a tricky thing. We are going to attack with all 5 of our tokens at the Angels again. So the reason that this is tricky is because the Angels do have two 4/4 blockers. They could block two of these tokens. The problem is that whenever we lose a non-land permanent, Martyr's Bond says, okay, now everybody gets to lose that same permanent. So if two of these tokens died, then the Angels will still lose their creatures anyway. So the Angels can't block. They're going to have to rely on getting life gain next turn to try to offset this because they're down to 9 life. That's almost dead. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but it certainly could happen, and we'll have to wait and see. The soldiers definitely don't know whether or not they can do something about it, if the Angels can stop it. So the Angels, at the very least, would be able to block next turn. But for now, they probably want their creatures. So moving on, we're going to untap the dragons, draw a card for the turn, Encroaching Wastes. So we will go ahead and play that. It's just another land for us. Then we are going to, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. Let's go and switch this up here. 8 mana, I should say. So here's us recasting our commander, Lathlis. But we do get this effect with Sunbird's Invocation. So what Sunbird's Invocation says is that whenever we cast a spell from our hand, so Lathlis is just going to go out. That's fine. So there you go, Lathlis. And we are going to pass the turn and hope that those tokens don't get lost. We're going to hope that the soldier deck doesn't have some way to get rid of tokens and force us to get rid of our dragon. So for now, though, we will untap for the Angels, draw a card for the turn, and it is Honor of the Pure. That's cool. I like that. I like seeing that. Let's see here. What do we want to do? I think that we want to do 2 things. We're first going to pay 2 mana and play Honor of the Pure, and then we're going to pay 2 more mana and cast Spirit Loop, enchanting Regna. So we are going to get our revenge on the soldier deck here. We're going to double attack with our 2 Angels, and what happens is both of these are white creatures, and Honor the Pure gives all of our white creatures +1/+1. So they are both dealing 5 damage, which means that the soldier deck is going to take 10 damage, and they can't do anything about it because the soldiers don't have any flying creatures, and both of our Angels are flying. So those Angels get to deal the damage directly, unopposed. And then Regna has lifelink. Essentially, it gains life whenever we deal damage with it. So we're going to gain 5 life from that. I should be doing this. I should be showing the screen. So we already took off the damage for the soldiers. Now the Angels, like I said, they gain 5 life. So we get to do this. But then, here's the cool thing. Boon Reflection, if we would gain life, we gain double that life instead. So we're going to gain another 5 life from that. So now we're offsetting everything that those tokens are doing, which is really cool. And also, because we gained life this turn, as we end our turn, we get to create 2 more soldiers. Or we get to create our own soldiers. Let me actually... So we have a little bit of separation from that. Let's go and do this instead. So we get 2 free 1/1 soldiers. So if ever we were able to do something about those soldiers over there, or just if in case the dragons had their own soldiers that they were going to do something with, then we can like try to attack us, then maybe we can block with our soldiers. So after that, we will pass the turn and move over to the soldier deck. So soldiers aren't super happy about that because they don't have any way to block the flying creature, but we may be able to do something about that if we draw the right cards. So let's go ahead and Untap, upkeep, draw a card. Skull Clamp. Interesting. That is very, very interesting. We want this card, but unfortunately our Intangible Virtue kind of makes it hard to use. So I'm not sure how well it helps us or not. Let me think about this. Let's go ahead and play it. Let's pay a 1 mana for Skull Clamp, and we will also pay another mana to equip it to one of our soldiers here. So Skull Clamp gives equipped creature +1/-1. So this soldier is a 3/1 right now. And then whenever equipped creature is put into a graveyard, draw 2 cards. So that could be really good if we could get our little human guy right here to die, but it seems unlikely that we're going to get to. For now, we will just actually, let's do 4 attacks against the angels, and this 3 attack will go after the dragons to see if the dragons take the bait and block this 3-power creature. I think that they're not going to yet. They're just going to take 3 damage. That takes them down to 19. And what, I'm rearranging stuff here in a second. So the angels are going to take another 8 damage and be down to 11. So let's see what we can do with that. We will pass the turn, and the dragons will be able to actually get a dragon and use the Sunbird's Invocation this turn. Untap, upkeep, draw a card. And it is Bogarden Hellkite. Wow. That's really good. Interesting. So, let's see. I think that this could be a bit problematic, because as far as the dragons are concerned, both of our opponents are kind of a bit ahead of us. They do, like, the angels have a lot of life gain capability, which could be really problematic for us really quickly unless we can do something about it. Gaining 10 life a turn is not something I want to deal with. But the humans, the soldier deck, I should say, they are much further ahead. They have nearly 10 life over each of the other opponents. And they do that. Martyr's Bond is really, really troublesome. So let's first do this. We will tap this 6 mana and 2 more for 8 mana. We will cast Bogarden Hellkite from our hand. So we will explain what its effect does first, but before that happens, we have a Sunbird's Invocation. So we reveal the top X cards, where X is the spell that we cast converted mana cost. So we get to reveal the top 8 cards from our library. So that's 7, 8. And we can cast a card for free from among them. Ooh. I think that we do Hellkite Charger, honestly. We're going to go ahead and cast that one for free. The rest of these, you may cast a card reveal this way. Yeah. So we're going to shuffle these up and put all of these that we just revealed onto the bottom of our library in a random order. So there we go. Random order. Now, we cast this spell for free, so because we did that, we get a free 5/5 dragon from Lathless. And then this Bogarden Hellkite comes into play, and it is flash flying, and when it enters the battlefield, deal 5 damage, divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players. So we get to deal 5 free damage, but we also get another free dragon because of Lathless. So how do we separate this damage? Do we do we even separate the damage? And I'm kind of thinking maybe not. So the one good thing about the dragons is that Lathless does have a really strong capability of dealing commander damage, like dealing enough commander damage to kill somebody with commander damage. So I think that it makes sense to go ahead and deal the 5 damage here to the soldier deck. So Bulgarian Hellkite is going to deal 5 damage there. In addition to that, we are going to swing for 11 damage at the soldier deck because our Hellkite Charger has haste, so it can attack the turn it comes out. Lathless was already out, so it's going to deal another 6 damage. So that means 11 damage total, bringing the soldiers down to there, and we need to add 6 commander damage here. Actually, we need to add another 5 angel damage there. So we're all at the end now, and we have these dragons to block with if we need to. So now it is the angel's turn. We're going to rotate here, and let's go ahead and untap, upkeep, draw a card. Emeria the Sky Ruin. That is sick. Because we can start using its effect too. Interesting. Although that encroaching wastes, I should say. Yeah, that could be problematic. Okay, so we are going, but I think that we just need to go ahead and do it. We'll put Emeria the Sky Ruin into play tapped. It is a non-basic land, and at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 7 or more planes, you can return a target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So we get to do that for free. It also taps for 1 white mana, so that's also really, really good. And since we played a land this turn, Emeria Sky Shepherd triggers, returning an on-land permanent from our graveyard to our hand, which will be Moon Silver Spear. So here's a really good question. We are caught in kind of a conundrum here. So if we attack, let's see, let's actually bring up the life total again. So, okay, so if we attack the soldier deck, we would certainly kill them this turn. Let's see. Yeah, we would certainly defeat them because we do have the 10 damage in the air to be able to defeat them. The problem is that the dragons have a ridiculous amount of power on the battlefield now. They have 26 potential damage to use, and we're going to be at 21 life. So if we attack and don't do something about the dragons, then we're going to lose the game next turn. So I think what we do, I think we still can deal with the soldiers. So let's go ahead and do that first. So we are going to attack and deal 10 damage to the soldiers. The soldiers are going to lose, sadly. Down to 0, okay. And then the angels are going to gain 10 life because we have that life link going for us. Then on our second main phase, so after we do that, we are going to pay 2 white and 6 more mana to cast a card called Martial Coup. So Martial Coup is a kind of strange card. Let's go ahead and actually hold on a second. I'm gonna be right back. Okay, sorry about that. There was a... To be clear, there was a motorcycle out there, and it was making a lot of sound, and I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have been able to hear me. Unfortunately, just too loud on the motorcycle. Let's see. So, I was explaining Martial Coup. It is a sorcery. It costs X and 2 white, and the X symbol, whenever you see that on a card, all it indicates to you is that you can pay any number for X that you want to. You get to choose when you cast the spell. In this case, what it does is it creates X 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. And then, if X is 1 or more, destroy all other creatures. So this is how we're going to survive the dragons, is we're going to kill off all the dragons. We're going to do this, sacrifice these. These soldiers die. And let's see. We're going to probably put Ragna into our command zone. Spirit Loop, like I said, whenever it goes into the graveyard, it actually returns back to our hand. And then put Martial Coup in the graveyard. And now, with the soldiers are gone now, unfortunately. We are just down to 2 players now. So let's go ahead and, yeah, okay, the soldiers are already marked. So over here, this dragon is dead, this dragon is dead. These tokens are gone too. This guy is gone, and our commander is in the command zone. So we are sore for cards now. Okay, let's untap. Upkeep. Oh, and so I forgot to put, so we still got to make the, we did X equals 6, so the angel deck has 6 tokens out, 6 1/1 soldier tokens. Let's see, so well, let's go and draw a card for the turn with the dragon deck. It is Moonveil Dragon, so that is a really nifty card. So now the question here is, we do have this Encroaching Wastes. We could use it to destroy the Emeria Sky Ruin over there. My problem with doing that now, is that we leave ourselves open to 12 damage by our next turn. And we don't have that much life. We're at 19 life. So we really need to get more cards out. And I think the only way to do that is by casting cards this turn, and they'll just unfortunately get a free angel next turn. So we will pay 7 mana, and we will cast Skyline Despot, but before that happens, we get a Sunbird Invocation, so we get to look at the top 7 cards of our library, 4, 5, 6, 7. We get to look at them and decide to put one onto the battlefield. Oh man, that is so unfortunate. Let's see. Discards his or her hand and draws 7 cards. So I think, man, that is unfortunate because all of these are not, like, we really want the Dragon Mage, but the Dragon Mage attacking isn't going to do us any good because the Angels could end up drawing into something really strong. But then again, let's go and do the Dragon Mage. We're just going to take a risk here. So these other 6 cards get randomized and put onto the bottom of our library. And now we have 2 blockers with which to do something, which is good for us, but still not great. So there we go. And we will pass to the angel deck back to over here. So we untap, upkeep. During our upkeep, Emeria Sky Ruin triggers, and we get a free angel, which is Emeria Sky Shepherd. Then we will draw a card for the turn. It is Angelic Skirmisher. Wow. That's really, really good for us. Okay. So we have, let's see, 9 mana. We don't have enough to cast multiple things, unfortunately. Well, we can't cast both the angels in our hand. So let's go ahead and tap 6 mana. We will play the Skirmisher. And then let's see, we could play one other thing. I think maybe, let's see. Actually, that's crazy good. Okay, so we're going to pay 2, and do we want to do spirit? Let's see about the spirit loop. I think we're going to enchant the angelic skirmisher with the oh crap, and I totally forgot about monarch. Skyline Despot, when it comes into play, they become Monarch, which means that at the end of the turn, they actually drew an extra card, which was a mountain. I needed to make sure to do that. They have another effect, but it's most likely we're going to be able to get that Monarch from them. So, we have a bunch of creatures that can attack this turn, and we also have this Angelic Skirmisher. So, Angelic Skirmisher reads, at the beginning of each combat, choose First Strike, Vigilance, or Lifelink. Creatures you control gain that ability until end of turn. We are going to choose to gain Lifelink this turn during combat. So our 6 tokens are going to attack the dragons. And they're going to deal 12 damage and gain us 12 life. But we gain double that. So we're going to gain 24 life instead. So we are at 45 life. We are not concerned anymore because of that. That lifelink just essentially wiped out the dragon's ability to really take us down quickly. So we have at least that going for us. The dragons are still going to block 2 of the tokens, so 2 tokens are going to die. And so because we dealt combat damage to the dragons, we become the Monarch, and at the end of our turn, we're going to draw a card, which was a Plains. Perfect. That's what we like to see. So now it's the dragon's turn. The dragons have at the beginning of your the Skyline Despot. The second ability is at the beginning of your upkeep. If you're still the Monarch, we get to create a free 5/5, but obviously we're not doing that. So let's untap, draw a card for the turn. It is Mountain. Let's go ahead and play a Mountain that's in our hand. We will cast Moonveil Dragon. So that's 6 mana right here, just like this. Actually, let's do it this way. 6 mana, cast Moonveil Dragon. We get to look at the top 6 cards of our library because of Sunbird's Invocation. And let's see, we get to put a creature into play. Or, well, we get to put something into play if we want to. And I'm looking at what we have. What these are. Let's see. Do we... Man, that is super unfortunate. But I think that maybe we go ahead and... Okay, so we have multiple dragons here. 2 different dragons that would stay out if we wanted to. And then the 3rd dragon returns to our hand at the end of each of our turns. Well, at the end of every turn, it returns to the owner's hand. But it does have haste. So that could be good because we could attack with it this turn and deal damage. But unfortunately, they do have 2 blockers that are 5/5s. So we do have this. How much damage can we deal if they don't block? So we can deal a base of 19 damage if we activate Moonveil Dragon. No, wait, we can't attack with Moonveil. So it's just 10 damage, 14. We can do 2 more for each of those, so that's 20 damage this turn, but they're going to gain all of that back next turn. Wow. That is not good. And we took 8 damage this last turn. So we are actually at 11 life. I think that means that we want to... put a dragon out that's going to stay out. So we're going to do that. Shuffle these up. And pass the turn, I think. I think that means that we just don't attack. We're just going to try to play some blocking for now and hoping that we can stave off some damage for once. So unfortunately, that means we don't gain the Monarch back. But maybe that means we save our life. So I guess we'll find out. So Angels untap for the turn. Untap all of this stuff. Let's go ahead and draw. And we get Knight of the White Orchid. So not great. That's okay though. Let's see. So we've cast Regna once now. So we have 6 mana here, 7, 8 to be able to bring her back out. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and pay 8 to bring Regna back out. And then we're going to, I think we're going to do some silly stuff here. We are going to attack with all 4 of these tokens and the Angelic Skirmisher, again choosing, let's see, oh no, since they didn't attack, we're still at 45. Do we want, yeah, let's choose not to gain, let's choose First Strike this turn. So our Angelic Skirmisher is going to deal 5 First Strike damage. Or do we, yeah, that's what we want to do. Oh, I guess, or does it matter? No, let's do lifelink. We're going to do lifelink. Okay, so the dragons have 4 blockers. I think they're going to, I think they are, well, this is such a harsh situation. I think they're going to try to block the Angelic Skirmisher with a creature that can kill it. So Angelic Skirmisher is dead. Spirit Loop returns to their hand. And 3 of these tokens get blocked. So these 3 die here. So let's see. 2 damage is getting through to the dragons. They are down to 9 life. But Spirit Loop did gain us life. The Angelic Skirmisher was a 5/5. So we gained 10 more life. So we're at 55. Before we end the turn, we're going to play a Plains, which activates Emeria Shepherd and brings Angelic Skirmisher back to the battlefield. And then, because we gained life at the end of the turn, we get 2 free soldiers from Regna, and then we also draw a card from Monarch. So, Archangel of Thune, holy crap. Holy crap, that's going to be such a good card. Wow. Okay. Well, that's it for the turn. We are going to pass back to the dragons. Angels. Sorry, I need to mark that I cast Regna a second time. So, dragons. Let's see. Untap. Upkeep. Draw a card. It is Mind Stone. Not great. Okay, let's go ahead and play a mountain. We've cast Lathless twice now, correct? This is why we keep track. Okay, we did cast Lathless twice, so 6 mana right here. So we need 1 more mana to be able to do anything about it. Let's see. We can't really get that mana, unfortunately. I think we're going to pay 2 mana, and we're going to play Mind Stone, so we reveal the top 2 cards of our library. We can't cast, let's see, cast X mana or less. So we actually can cast Tormenting Voice, so we're going to go ahead and do that with the Mind Stone, which means that we need to discard a card and put the other card on the bottom of our library. So discard card, we'll discard Pyroblast. We get to draw 2 cards. Dragon Tempest and Crucible of Fire. Okay, we are going to probably cast both of them. Let's go ahead and do, well, 4 mana here. We will cast Crucible of Fire, which is an enchantment that makes it so all of our dragon creatures get +3/+3. So let's look at the top 4 cards of our library, reveal them. Sarkham's Triumph. Yeah, let's go ahead and cast that. You may search your library for a dragon card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. These go onto the bottom. and we search for a dragon card and put it into our hand. Let's think about what dragon we want to get. I'm guessing it's probably Balefire Dragon, but there could be something else that's better than that. I'm kind of convinced that it's probably the best card. Well, actually, no, we're going to get Advara Hellkite. Almost certainly Advara Hellkite. Yeah, that's what we want. Advara Hellkite is a dragon that whenever we attack with a dragon, we get more dragons. So that's going to be, we're going to try to utilize that as our way of getting around the life gain thing. We're going to just flood with huge dragons every turn if we can. Unfortunately, that will have to wait until next turn. So here's me shuffling. Sorry, I wasn't really showing that. Let's see. Let's go and cut and put this into the graveyard. This is in our hand. And we want to go ahead and cast Dragon Tempest now. So Dragon Tempest is whenever a creature with flying enters the battlefield under our control, it gains haste until end of turn. And then whenever a dragon enters the battlefield, we get to deal X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons we control. So we get to do Sunbird's Invocation again with Dragon Tempest. Neither of these are anything that we can, we can't cast either of them, so they go on the bottom of our library. And I think that is it for the turn. I think we want to just have blockers now. I think we don't want to do anything else. So we are just going to go ahead and pass, because we need to be able to block a lot of creatures and hopefully not die. So going here, untap this soldier, upkeep, draw a card for the turn. We don't have another creature to bring back from the Emeria Sky Shepherd or the Emeria Sky Ruin land down here, so we're just going to play a plains, and then we are going to, let's see here, we want to, well, we're going to play Archangel of Thune for sure. The question is, what else are we going to do? And I think that, let's see, so let's go and pay 5 for Archangel of Thune, which is a 5-cost 3/4 angel that has, whenever we gain life, it has flying and lifelink, and then whenever we gain life, we put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control. So we were going to gain life this turn. That's for sure. Advara Hellkite does not scare us, because Archangel of Thune is going to go crazy. Now, we do need to look up something about Spirit Loop. Let's see. Yes, but let's see. When does lifelink trigger? Oh, okay. So let's see. The rules are we gain. Lifelink has it so that it's not a trigger. It doesn't go onto the sack. We just immediately gain the life from the damage being dealt. So, Spirit Loop, though, this Spirit Loop is a different effect. It triggers and gains us life right after we deal damage. So we're going to get 2 triggers from the Archangel of Thune. That's kind of important. So, let's see. See how we want to do this. Because I think what we want to do is, we do want to play Spirit Loop. So we will pay 2 like that. And I think we'll go ahead and enchant the Angelic Skirmisher again. Then, let's see, the dragons don't have... No, they do have an artifact now. They have Mind Stone. Sucks for you. We're going to pay 2 and cast Divine Offering. Destroy target artifact. You gain life equal to its converted mana cost. We're going to destroy the Mind Stone, which means that we gain 4 life from that. So let's Grab our life total stuff again and show it off. There we go. So the angels will gain 4 life from that because we gain it's a 2 converted mana cost card, but we gain double the life. So it's 4. And then on top of that, Archangel of Thune has whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So we are going to I'm basically just going to say 1 right here because there's a lot of +1/+1 counters now. Let's see. So we do want to attack. They only have 3 creatures. Can we win this turn? That's a good question. Archangel of Thune can't attack this turn. These 3 can. These 3 can. These are now 3 3s. The dragons have only 9 life, so actually we do win this turn because we're going to say, I mean, we could always just do something like say, well, we could say first strike. Actually, we're going to have Angelic Skirmisher give all of our creatures first strike, and we will attack with all of these. And that means that the dragons, even the 3 dragons that they have over here. No, wait, I guess the 3 dragons are still strong enough. So let's say instead of first strike, we'll say lifelink. I mean, not that it really matters, but we are going to say lifelink. These 3 dragons are +3, so they do end up killing all 3 of our angels. But like I said, these 3 guys get through and deal 9 damage. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is enough to win the game. Just barely, just before Udvalar Hellkite wrecks the day. Oh, that was crazy. Thank you, Archangel of Thune. You are extraordinarily good. I really like that. I really like being able to do that. Let's see. I guess one thing that we can do is, let me get set up here. Let me go ahead and cut to taking a look at one of these decks. Let's go ahead and take a look at the soldier deck. The soldiers didn't really get to shine too much, and they kind of fall back a little bit. Like, they kind of do some really crazy things, but then they seem to also not get to do as much, so we don't get to see as much of the deck as I'd like. So let's go ahead and we will go to a short break while I clean up, and we will take apart the soldier deck a little bit and see what's inside so that we get a chance to understand its pieces. Okay, we're back. Let me go ahead and I cleared off the other decks here, but we do need to go ahead and pull out all of the lands real quick. Oops, did not mean to do that. Let's see. Grab all of the lands out of here. Just so that we can not have to run into them over and over again as we pull out other cards and kind of look at stuff. We will count how many lands that we do have and discuss that amount and whether it's a good amount or a bad amount or an okay amount. But for now, we don't need them as much. So let's go ahead and do that. Now let's go ahead and separate these cards out into what they're useful for. And so I've always talked about sort of the kind of the pillars of deck building. You want card draw, you want ramp, you want removal, and then sort of your win condition. We're going to try to separate those kind of in those piles if we can. So this is card draw, this is ramp. These are sort of other win condition type stuff. Ramp, win condition, removal, that's the other one. We kind of just want to get the cards out that do sort of, we want to get out these three, and then we'll look at the sort of win condition stuff a little bit later. That's removal. Let's see. That's kind of card draw. This is ramp there. Card draw right there. Let's see. That's removal. This isn't. That's removal. Removal. Not. That's ramp. Ramp. Oh no! Wait. This is ramp right here. Card draw is on that side. Whoops. Removal. Ramp in the middle. I need to remember. Let's see. I think that I'm doing that's removal. Card draw. Nope. That's card draw. This is card draw. Let's see. It's not quite. Okay. So looking at what we have here, these three piles, let's go over them pretty quickly. So we do have a decent number of card draw here. We probably could have a little bit more card draw, but each of these kind of represents the ability to do, most of them represent the ability to draw more than one card in and of themselves. Particularly, all of these could arguably draw more than one card. Two of them are dependent upon playing small cards, small creatures basically. So the deck is kind of meant to be all small creatures, so these do get really good because of that. They are really good. This other one right here, Mind's Eye, it costs a little bit to get out, but then once you do, whenever somebody else draws cards, you can pay mana to draw more cards. So this is hingent on other players drawing cards, but every player always draws at least one card each turn. So Mind's Eye is really good for that. Endless Atlas does really well in the same way. All we have to do is have some planes out, and we can draw a card for a low amount of mana. Skull Clamp is really good whenever you're playing a lot of tokens. We play tons of tokens in this deck, so this one is going to be regularly really good. It's one of the this one card broke an entire format, so it's pretty good. Militia Bugler is a little bit on the weaker side. When it well, I guess this one actually is a once only. I thought it was when it attacked, but I was just reading quickly. So this one, whenever it enters the battlefield, we can reveal a small creature and put it into our hand. It also comes with that in and of itself wouldn't be good enough, but it does have vigilance, and since our commander hinges so much on abilities, Militia Bugler is pretty good because of that. Recruiter of the Guard doesn't have its own ability, but despite that, it does have the ability to search through our entire library for a creature with converted mana or with a creature with toughness 2 or less, and there's a ton of those. You could use it to get more card draw if you wanted to. So, I mean, in this case, this one. So there is a lot of variability in that makes it worth including in this deck. It's also a soldier. Both of these are soldiers. This guy's a soldier. This guy isn't. This bygone bishop is not a soldier, but we do have a ton of soldiers here. We could look for more ways to get more card draw to help us out, but we would be cutting into some other things, like, for instance, our sort of ramp package. I say sort of. So we have multiple artifacts that get us mana. Soul Ring is really, really good, especially because Audric is a 4-cost card, and most of its cost is in colorless mana. So Soul Ring does a really good job there. It's really good to have in this deck. Marble Diamond is another low-cost card that gets us white mana, so that's going to be good. As opposed to Soul Ring. Soul Ring costs less and adds more mana, but it doesn't add any white mana, and we do want white mana often. So those two are really good. Sword of the Animist, it's an equipment, so it equips to a creature. It makes it just a little bit stronger, a +1/+1, but then whenever that creature attacks, we get a free land in exchange. So we can attack with small 1/1 tokens, and even if that token dies, it doesn't matter. We can probably replace that token and then be able to get a free land every single turn out of it, essentially. So on the other side here, we do have land tax. So if we're behind on land, land tax becomes really, really good. Same for Keeper of the Accord. Both of these cards sort of act the same way. We get to be able to, if we're behind, then it helps us get back on track. Tithe can be really good in a similar way. It works better when we're low on lands. And so if we kind of take a look at how much land we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. So we are a little bit light on land, but that's because we have essentially 7 ramp cards, or 6 ramp cards, and 3 of them desire us to be low on lands to be able to make up for it. So we play a little bit light, so that if we have any one of these 3 cards, we'll be able to offset that pretty easily. So I think our land package is probably pretty good considering it's mono white. These are some of the best ramp cards for white. There's a couple of other ones that are technically a little bit better. Smothering Tithe is one of them. It is in the Angel deck, though, the one that we have. And I tried not to use too many repeats between the decks so that they don't really operate exactly the same way each time. Now, our removal package is very varied. We have a lot of different... We have Wrath effects over here. We have single effects over here. Let's see. Single destroy... Well, we have a single creature destroy effect, single artifact or enchantment. This a Wrath, this a Wrath, Wrath. This is sort of in between. It does a lot of different things. I guess it's still kind of one... it does a single effect. This does multiples, but it's kind of in the same Martyr's Bond region. Let's see. This is repeatable single creature, but we have to tap 5 soldiers to do it. We have another destroy target artifact or enchantment, a single cost... destroy target creature, and then we have this card called Comeuppance, which prevents all the damage. It's kind of a weird card. It's an instant that whenever... Oh, I need to put it on screen so you can actually see it. Comeuppance is a 4-cost instant. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and planeswalkers you control this turn by sources you don't control. If damage from a creature source is prevented this way, Comeuppance deals that much damage to that creature. If damage from a non-creature source is prevented this way, Comeuppance deals that much damage to that source's controller. So essentially, if somebody attacked, what we could do is we could say, okay, Comeuppance, we prevent all of the damage that would be dealt to me. So during that combat, we would take no damage, and then whatever damage would have been dealt to us is instead dealt by the source that would have... the source where that damage originated from. So if a 2/2 creature attacked us, that 2 damage would be prevented, and they would essentially deal 2 damage to themselves. So this is a huge removal package. We could probably eliminate a little of this, but sort of the intent here is that we are a small deck, like a smaller tribe, but we're going to try to stabilize the battlefield regularly by playing a lot of removal and stopping people from being able to stop us. So this is a big package. It probably may need to have like 1 or 2 cards removed from it, just so that we can fit in a few more cards that interact with Audric a little bit better. But for now, it works fine enough. So looking over here, we have all of the rest of the deck to look at here, to peel apart. So let's go ahead and find soldiers, and then we'll put those into a pile by themselves. Then we'll also make a pile of cards that are more about their abilities to see how many of those we have. And then we'll also kind of look and see what other effects we are using. Different pump effects or sort of win cards that we can have. So here's a couple of soldiers. This one is an ability card. This one is kind of utility. We're going to put that off to the side. We're also going to put this off to the side. It makes tokens. So actually, let's go ahead and call it sort of a win condition, because that is often how it will act. So actually, I guess this is just a regular soldier here. Abilities. This is abilities. This is sort of just a regular soldier. Soldiers. Let's see. This is more soldier type stuff. That's an ability. This is an ability. Pump. Tokens. More tokens. This is... Well, I guess we'll say that we'll just put it over there. Cathar's Crusade is definitely a win condition. Soldier, tokens. This is abilities. That's a win condition here. This is not, so we're going to put it over there. Actually, this guy should probably go over there as well. Kind of utility stuff. Again, probably utility. This guy makes soldiers, so we'll go ahead and put, well, I don't know, I guess we'll say over here. He's not a soldier in and of himself. This is an ability. I guess, yeah, and he doesn't have an ability. So there's another ability. This is more tokens. That's kind of, well, this probably should have been in ramp. Let me go ahead and put him in ramp. That's his primary one. He also has first strike. So this White of the Night Orchid acts just like the land tax, the Keeper of the Accord, and Tithe, in that when we're behind, it helps bring us back up in place. So, but it also has first strike, which really helps for getting abilities with Audric. Oof. Soldier card. This is abilities. Also a soldier, thankfully. There's that. This is about an ability. And this is just a soldier with pump. So you can kind of see here's kind of where we're at with these cards. I guess Honor the Pure. Let's go and put it over there. Is there any other ones that we kind of missed? I guess Intangible Virtue probably shouldn't be. Let's see. Well, this does make soldiers. Let's go and put it there. It's probably fewer soldiers than I'd like, but okay, here we go. This is what we're looking at with the rest of the deck. So there are a decent number of the ability cards, and then there's other cards that, like these soldiers, I mean, I guess most of these don't have an ability that shares, but that's sort of okay. We probably could stand to find, maybe if we did this a little bit better, we would look and see about taking out a couple, maybe one of the removal cards, maybe two, finding more cards that have abilities that can be shared across the battlefield using Audric, so that maybe we can see a few more of these cards, and maybe then we'd be better off. But that being said, the cards that work with Audric that we have here, most of them are high density cards. This one card, Aerial Responder, has 3 different abilities that it can use to share with Audric. Mirren Crusader also had, let's see, same as True First Strike, flying to 3 turns. So it doesn't share the protection from black and green, but it does share the double strike, which is kind of a rare ability. often. So the double strike is really good though. Sword of Vengeance, there's 4 different abilities there that are shared. Let's see. So Gideon Blackblade here, this guy can give your choice of Vigilance, Lifelink, or Indestructible to a creature until end of turn. So again, it's like he gives a bunch of different things. He could give a bunch of different things depending upon what we need to all of our creatures. Loxodon Warhammer gives Trample and Lifelink. And then the rest of so this one gives a True Conviction gives a blanket double strike lifelink. So it doesn't really necessarily interact directly with Audric, but it does act as kind of another Audric that we can use. Mobilization, Vigilance, then Indestructible, First Strike, and First Strike. So these are all just nice abilities to have. First Strike is always going to be appreciated. And Precinct Captain, like both of these two right here, well, really all of these 4 have additional abilities past just having a single ability keyword to go with Audric. Preeminent Captain, whenever it deals damage, we get a free token. Precinct Captain, I should say. Preeminent Captain allows us to put a soldier card from our hand into play for free. So that's almost a ramp card in and of itself because we get to cast things for free. Shielded by Faith. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, we may switch Shielded of Faith to that creature. And then Mobilization, we can pay mana to make 1/1 soldiers. So all of those cards I think are really good cards to have with Audric. We could just probably think about maybe getting some more of the keyword abilities. For now, we also have a bunch of soldiers to go with stuff. This is kind of a weaker one, but it does act as more card draw if we need it, because it comes into play and makes us the Monarch. So that's going to be really good. And same with Protector of the Crown. It's a soldier, but it makes us become Monarch. So card draw is going to be appreciated. We have a few sort of soldier cards that give buff effects to other soldiers. So we have Veteran Swordsmith. Other soldiers you control get +1/+0. Veteran Armorer. Other creatures you control get +0/+1. And Field Marshal. Other soldiers get +1/+1 and have First Strike. So these are all cool soldiers to have with our build. Then we have stuff like Thalia's Lieutenant, which when it comes into play buffs all of our soldiers, and then it gets steadily stronger and stronger. When we look at some of the other ones, then we have Ballyrush Banneret, which makes all of our soldier spells cost less, so sort of another ramp card. It's a kind of conditional, but still can be used to great effect. Custody Soulcaller can actually allow us to return creatures from our graveyard whenever it attacks. So as long as let's see, if we attack like 3 players at a time, then we get to bring something with converted mana cost 3 or less from our graveyard. So that could be one that we could find maybe another keyword ability to exchange it with, because we don't have like a ton of creatures that have really low converted mana cost, but we still do have some. So then we also have Anafenza Kintree Spirit, which whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under our control, we get to make one of our creatures, whatever the weakest creature we have, we get to make it stronger. We already saw Murder Investigation, which can get us a number of soldiers quickly. And then finally, we have Palace Guard. Palace Guard is kind of unique. It can be used to block any number of creatures. So we can essentially use it to fog one turn. Sorry, I should say that we can use it to blank out an entire combat if we need to. So let's look at our utility cards before we get to the sort of the more or less the more win condition-y type cards. So we have some stuff that just, like this is a buff effect. It makes all of our creatures stronger. A Johnny Goldmane is going to be mostly used to make creatures stronger. Honor the Pure, Intangible Virtue, also just kind of a blanket +1/+1 kind of thing. Hero of Bladehold, it makes 2 token soldiers, like 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens each time it attacks, but it also buffs buffs our creatures. Sun Titan returns all of our stuff from the graveyard to the battlefield, so that can be very, very useful in a pinch. It also is a 6/6 creature with vigilance, so it does play into Audric's ability. We also have Martyr's Cause. So Martyr's Cause has sacrifice a creature, prevent all damage to a creature or a player from one source. So if we have a bunch of tokens out, if, say, we had a big dragon flying at our face trying to eat us alive, then we can sacrifice a token and basically say, nah, that dragon didn't do anything to us this turn. And then finally, we do have another creature that's low cost that returns things from the graveyard, but this one is kind of guaranteed return things, whereas the Soul Caller guy, it may or may not actually allow us to get something that we need. This one does it always does 3 or less, whereas the Soul Caller could maybe only do 1 or less in a particular turn. So those are some really good cards that I think do a good job keeping the deck running, because, like I said, they're sort of utility. So let's go ahead and look at what else we have on this. We're kind of separated into cards that provide a massive buff and then cards that create a lot of tokens. So each of these 3 will create a ton of tokens every turn. Every turn, or whenever we play them, they'll create a lot of tokens. Nomad's Assembly creates a token for each creature we control, and it rebounds. So if we have a number of tokens out, this creates a bunch more tokens, and then it doubles that amount again next turn. Finale of Glory, if we can get it up to 10, so we did have this in our hand during the game that we just played. It's another X cost card. We can create X things. In this case, it creates X 2/2 soldier tokens with vigilance. So it creates soldier tokens with an ability to share with Audric. And then if X is 10 or more, we also create that same number of angel tokens that are 4/4 with flying. So if we can flying and vigilance. So if we get to X equals 10, we get 10 soldiers, 10 angels, and then from then on, as long as we have those cards, all of our creatures have flying and vigilance. So that's massive. This is like game-changingly good. Deploy to the front is really good. It doesn't seem like maybe on its face like this one is a little bit more situational than Nomad's Assembly, because it doesn't repeat itself, but the number of tokens it creates is equal to the number of tokens on the entire battlefield. So if somebody has a ton of creatures, we get a ton of creatures. And then finally, we have Elspeth Tyrell, which is another Planeswalker that has an ability that creates 3 tokens at a time. So we can do that repeatedly and make a bunch of tokens if we need to. It does have an ability to wipe the battlefield, but we're going to probably use that less than we would use some of the other ones, just because it's destroy all other permanents. So it could destroy some really useful artifacts or enchantments. Now, putting those aside, we have these 3 cards. If we get any one of these 3 cards, we could end the game extraordinarily quickly. And that's because each of them give a huge buff to all of our creatures. Gold Knight Commander, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under our control, creatures we control get +1/+1. So if we said, okay, well, deploy to the front, we put 16 creatures into play. Well, now with Gold Knight Commander out, all of the creatures that we already had out get +16/+16 and can then go on to deal a ton of damage and maybe win the game right there on the spot. Cathard's Crusade is exactly the same way. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So Gold Knight is until end of turn. Cathard's Crusade is exactly the same thing, except it's harder to destroy and its buff is permanent. So that's going to be really good. And then finally, Jazal Goldmane has First Strike. So it's not a soldier, but it does have First Strike, so it does share its ability with Audric. And then it has an ability, attacking creatures you control get plus X until end of turn, where X is the number of attacking creatures. So if we have a bunch of little tokens out and we attack with them, then Jazal has an ability where we can pay a bunch of mana to make them all basically share their power and toughness, essentially. Instead of sharing an ability, they more or less share their power. So, I mean, it's going to be really good whenever you have tokens out, and that's why we have as many kind of token generation as we do, because token generation plus these three is going to end up with winning the game without somebody being able to respond to us or interrupt us in some form or fashion. It's going to end up being really good. So I think maybe we will, having kind of broken down the deck, I think we can find some ways to improve it, and we are going to try to look into making those improvements before the next time we play this deck. So I think we will discuss the next stream that we have, where we have this deck out. We'll probably see about discussing the changes that I made to it, and then see how it does in a fight. But for now, we're going to go ahead and close the stream. The next Magic stream is going to be, like I said, Wednesday or Thursday, depending upon how timing works out for me. And we'll find something to play. I missed the stream last week because I was relaxing and needing a day off. And I don't know. I guess thank you all for tuning in. I love doing this. I love playing Magic, so I'm happy to continue doing this. And thanks for stopping by. So have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you next stream.